No time like the present.
There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. And 10 days on the road are barely gone. There's a fire softly burning, and supper's on the stove, but it's the light in your eyes that makes him warm. Hey, it's good to be back home again, yes it is. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long-lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. There's all the news to tell him. How do you spend your time? What's the latest thing the neighbors say? And your mother called last Friday. Sunshine made her cry, and you felt the baby move just yesterday. And hey, it's good to be back home again, yes it is. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long-lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. Know the time that I can lay this tired old body down and feel your fingers feather soft upon me. The kisses that I live for, love that lights my way, the happiness living with you brings me. It's the sweetest thing I know of, just spending time with you. It's the little things that make a house a home. Like a fire softly burning and supper on the stove, or the light in your eyes that keeps him warm. Hey, it's good to be back home again, yes it is. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long-lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. Oh, hey, it's good to be back home again.
This is a new day. This is a new day full of sound and light and expectation. This day has been waiting for you. This day has been waiting especially for you, to embrace you, to guide you. This day has been waiting with open arms just for you. This is the day we have been given. Let's not waste it. Come now and let us worship together. What a great morning to be with you all. My name is Reverend Joseph Boyd, and it is my pleasure to welcome you live here in one of the greatest cities in the world, Youngstown, Ohio. Here live streaming via Zoom, via Facebook, later on YouTube, here at 1105 Elm Street in the heart of the North Side. And it is so great to be with you all this morning. It is great to be home. And I welcome you all into this home. All of you in the Mahoning County, Trumbull County area, all of you out in the farmland of Columbiana County, all of you out in PA, in Meadville, Pittsburgh, and all of you who are joining us coast to coast across the United States, from California, Seattle, Oregon, down in South Carolina, New York City, all the states of this union. And I welcome all our international friends. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are our family. And I welcome all of you in every continent across the world, in Australia, in the Dominican Republic, all across this world. Welcome into this sacred space where we remind each other what really matters: love, justice, gratitude. For those who are in the Youngstown area or within an hour's drive or so, I welcome you to join us this afternoon for the UUYO Family Picnic, which is being held at Chestnut Hill Pavilion in Mill Creek Park, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And the directions are down in your chat box. We will have plenty of space to be able to socialize with one another. So there shouldn't be any health concern. We will have plenty of space to be able to spread out and enjoy each other's company. Please bring your own dishes, your own food to grill. And the weather is beautiful out. It's very mild. So we should be able to have a great time. Again, I look forward to seeing you there if you're in the area, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Chestnut Hill Pavilion in Mill Creek Park. Again, the directions down in the chat box. Save the date, August 25th. 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I would like you to join me for a conversation on ahimsa, a very important term in the Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain tradition. It literally means a respect for all living things, an avoidance of violence toward each other. Very important to practice all the time, but especially during this time. And I would like to engage with all of you about what it means to practice ahimsa during this time. So join me 7 p.m. Eastern Time, August 25th, Wednesday, 7 p.m. And save the date, August 29th, after worship, there's going to be an exciting religious education event hosted by our own Director of Religious Education, Kathleen Hogue. And I'd like to go to her straight now to be able to tell you a bit about that event on August 29th, after service.
Thank you. So on August the 29th, after the service, we're going to have a religious education orientation. So you can find out all about our program for children and youth. It's called YoGART. So, and that stands for yoga and art. And so that is what the program is going to, the meat of the program is going to be for the kids. Some of it is going to be online, and some of it is going to be in person. We'll be sending you some more details about that over the next week or so. So I hope to see you all at the Zoom meeting, and really you can come and talk about anything religious education related, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. And so now it is time for our story. As human knowledge has grown, we have come to know the immensity of the universe.
The universe is big, and we human beings can seem infinitely small. The hurting in the world, our community, and our families seem huge, and we can feel as though there is little that we can do. There's so much that needs care and compassion, so much pain and suffering, and so much hurting and injustice. It's a lot to wrap our brains around, to think about, to try to understand and work to solve. It's a lot for our hearts to feel, to keep open and sensitive and responding. It's a lot for our hands to try to do. It's more than any of us can do on our own. How do we keep ourselves from being overwhelmed? How do we keep our spirits from sinking into the pain and staying there? How do we keep ourselves going? How do we link with others in our efforts? Ritual can be a powerful tool for raising our spirits and building our capacity for compassion, a key component of emotional intelligence. A story from one of our congregations offers an example. The Reverend Jurgen Swing is an ordained United Church of Christ minister who is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley in California. He works at a nearby hospital where members of the congregation also volunteer, offering spiritual care to patients. As they worked with patients, they noticed something. The patients and their families weren't the only ones needing spiritual care. The hospital's doctors, nurses, social workers, and other healthcare staff were often looking weary and stretched. Reverend Swing could see how the constant care of patients was draining the staff, both emotionally and spiritually. He talked with Unitarian Universalist volunteers and decided to offer a ritual for the staff, a ritual blessing of their hands. The team thought 30 or 40 participants might come to the ritual. Yet when the day came, 150 nurses, doctors, and other staff lined up to receive a blessing of their hands. Since that first day, Reverend Swing and his staff and volunteers have offered thousands of those blessings. Hospital staff arrive stressed out, but by the end of the blessing, there are tears or smiles or both. The staff are renewed, strengthened, and ready to bless their patients with attentive and compassionate care. I would like to offer everyone here a blessing. Who am I to offer a blessing, you may ask? As a Unitarian Universalist, I believe each one of us has the power to bless others. We bless each other with our words, our acts of kindness, and our generosity, and sometimes we bless each other just by being present and listening. During the blessing, I invite you all to step forward and place your hands over the bowl. I'll pour the water and say the blessing words. You'll need to step closer though. Closer. Now put your hands forward. Don't worry, the water is warm. I say to each one of you, wherever you go, whether you are at work or school or home, may your hands be blessed. May they be calm and steady. I say to each one of you, whoever you are with, when you are with family members, when you meet a stranger, or are together with a friend, may you share of your heart and of your compassion. May your hands be gentle and kind. I say to each one of you, whatever you do, whether feeding the hungry, sheltering the homeless, healing the sick, may your hands remain open and sensitive to the needs of others. And finally, may you find wholeness and be blessed at the end of each day and know you are loved. May you be blessed.
Good morning. For the past 8 months, I've had the privilege of serving on the board of UUYO. In that time, I have witnessed so many acts, selfless acts of service by the board, Reverend Joseph, and members of this church. Specifically, in April, we asked members of our congregation to offer their experience, expertise, and time to develop a plan to guide the church through COVID towards an eventual reopening. Each of these members stepped up to the task at hand with grace, humility, and a steady sense of purpose. Combining their talents, they conducted an outstanding assessment of the situation with models for various outcomes to consider as we plan to reopen the church. This is service with grace. On numerous occasions, I have witnessed Reverend Boyd and his wife Jennifer seeking ways to serve our church and our community through church programming, as well as providing their presence and their voices in the Youngstown community to promote social justice and racial equity. This is service with grace. And I have witnessed many members of our church serving in so many different ways through lay ministry, volunteerism, community activism, and outreach to our underserved neighbors in the Mahoning Valley. This is service with grace. I light this chalice to recognize the spirit of service with grace that exists in the UUYO community. Please join me in reciting our church's great covenant.
Us all. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Each month, we donate all loose cash and unmarked checks put in the offertory plate to a nonprofit organization whose mission and actions are consistent with UU principles and the mission of UUYO. Our recipient for August is Black Boys Read. Black Boys Read Ohio is the online home of Black Boys Read, an initiative started in February 2021 by Reverend Todd Johnson from the Second Baptist Church of Warren to encourage literacy and reading comprehension in Black boys ages 6 through 12. Reverend Johnson hosts weekly read-along Zoom meetings where he reads and or encourages participants to read books aloud. Black Boys Read Ohio also hosts special reading events in various Warren locations, and guest readers participate. In May, the book, Mama, Did You Hear the News? Was featured. It is a powerful and timely book about a young Black boy's view of law enforcement, and Warren City Police Captain Jeff Cole was the special guest. In June, the featured book was The Buffalo Soldiers and the American West, and the guest reader was retired Army Major Tim Ramey. This event was held at the Trumbull County Veterans Memorial in downtown Warren. Every eligible participant from Black Boys Read Ohio receives a shirt and a book for monthly read-alongs. We will now receive the offering that supports the life of Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley, and the wider world.
Make channels for the streams of love where'er they madly run, and love as overflowing streams to fill them everyone. But if at any time we cease these channels to provide, the very founts of love for us will soon be patched and dry. For we must share if we would keep the gift all else above. We cease to give, we cease to have, such is the law of love. We cease to give, we cease to have, such is the law of love.
Please join me for a few moments of silent meditation. If you're sitting, just notice your posture. If it's comfortable for you, just lift your spine up a little bit just to get a little bit of stretch, not too much, just a little bit of dignity in your body. If you're lying down, if you're walking, if you're running errands, whatever you're doing, it's all fine. Just notice the breath in your body as we breathe with each other across coast to coast, across this world, and across time and space.
When you walk through a storm, keep your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone.
Our reading today is from Kimberly Wensott, who is a member of the Paper Birch Poets of Wisconsin and is a linguist with a focus on her tribe's language. This is called The Prodigal Daughter. Once when I came home after 60 days on the road, my mother said, "Oh, the prodigal daughter has returned." Prodigal, prodigious, prodigy. In my blood is a way of life. Migration and distance bridge the gap in our seasonal souls. Winter camp, summer camp kept those villages on the move. Or maybe it is because no one remembered to save my cord at birth. That sturdy lifeline which delivered me whole into this world anchored me to the generations. They used to do this, kept it in a finely beaded pouch, as one would keep a thing of immense worth. If this was not done, they said the child would be foolish or would be always searching. Maybe it is the thunders who breathed life into my body. They are forever wanting to lift me high and carry me away. Once I thought I could settle into the arms of pine, hemlock, spruce, and icy river, but this has not happened yet. Home is elusive. It shape shifts with currents of my heart and its will. Home is a trickster changing according to the medicine of the season and its lesson. I was weary this last ride home, every fiber ready to surrender. Sage and a small courage begged my continuance. There is frost on my doorway and leaves unswept. There are miles to dream before I meet the morning again.
Prodigal, prodigious, prodigy. A prodigal person is someone who goes out and acts recklessly, not caring about consequences. A prodigal person is someone who leaves home, is both physically and spiritually homeless, who makes a habit of wasting time, wasting energy, and wasting resources. Then the prodigal person, the prodigal daughter, the prodigal son, comes to their senses and wakes up, typically at a moment of hitting rock bottom when things hit such a pitch that it can't be avoided. At that moment of being completely exhausted, returning back home to reconnect with what they were and who they were before they set out, but changed because of the prodigal journey. A prodigy is someone with extraordinary ability, someone from youth who is endowed with an unusual and extraordinary talent. A prodigy is someone who embodies something completely unique unusual, special, and of high regard. Prodigious is a word used to describe something or someone who is great, grand, large, beyond measure. Until Kimberly Wensaw's poem, I never thought to link these three terms: a prodigal child, a prodigal adult, and a prodigy, someone with a unique and powerful ability that is honed through experience of leaving home. Typically, in our faith tradition, we attract the prodigal. We attract those who, due to various circumstances, leave or deeply question the place that they came from. They question their family, their religion, lessons that were handed to them in the past. We attract those people into this congregation who are searchers, those who have to make their own way, and sometimes a way out of no way. We attract the most stubborn people, the most passionate, and the most extraordinary. We attract those who know what it's like to leave unfamiliar ground or uncharted territory, uncharted physical territory, and uncharted territory of the heart. We are a community of people that are home leavers, those who must or who are driven to leave the spiritual and physical home they've known. There are many reasons to leave home, many great and fine reasons. But the truth is, I think, and I would actually like to get your feedback after the service about this, is that for those of us who leave what we've known for something beyond what we've known, we don't always know the reasons why. We might be driven by one or two things we could mention: a sense of oppression or overbearing, a sense of living a parochial or narrow kind of life, or just a sense of adventure and wonder. Perhaps for some of us, actually, we just stumbled into a community like this, one that we weren't even looking for. Many, if not all of us, can't help but wonder, what is out there? I would characterize many of the people in this church as spiritual explorers, even if we are sustained by a major religious tradition. We know deep in our marrow that there is more out there. We know that there are parts of us left to be explored and discovered. And people, unlike the people that we've known in our past, who are there to illuminate who we actually are. Some of us in time find enough in our discoveries that we find our way back home in some form or another. Sometimes that return back home is subtle and nuanced. Sometimes it's dramatic and sweeping. Sometimes it's a combination of both. I couldn't help but laugh at myself a little bit that I seem driven to wear a suit and tie to worship service. Our church is actually quite casual. I don't know if you figured that out. And I know it's really not necessary. But it's a subtle nod to my returning home, even though I live and work in a place that is very different from how I grew up in many ways, with people that I never grew up with, but who I love dearly. And yet there is a familiarity, a resonance I can't explain, a deeper and prodigious mystery at the heart of my life and at the heart of all of our lives. I grew up wearing a shirt and tie to worship services as a child. And even though I practice in ways that are very different today, I see this return to something familiar, even though it's not completely, because I've changed in the process. I've been an explorer all my life, and I still am. I have found a peace and resonance with the Judeo-Christian tradition of my youth. I have found and rediscovered things that I am grateful for in how I was raised, practices that still feel alive and important for me today. And yet I am driven to go beyond. To where? I couldn't tell you. Just beyond. A place without name, a place without definite expression. I'm driven to question and find myself anew each and every single day. I'm driven to question. I don't know if I could recommend this path for every single one of you or every single person out there. I think if you're comfortable in a certain place and are sustained and fed by what you've known, please enjoy it. Enjoy it. There is nothing wrong with that. I think it's only some people like myself, people perhaps like you, who are never content with the known, but continually curious about the unknown, something that drives us to leave so that we might return. It would be a good question to wonder, which path is healthier? Staying put where we are and enjoying what is offered to us without deep question, or to leave what we know, even if it means acting foolishly much of the time, to discover some wisdom, some lesson, or a mystery that comes organically to us through the search and through experience. I actually don't know the answer to that question. I only know my experience as a home leaver. I only know what it's like to be driven to search for what I would call spiritual well-being or spiritual health. Right now, understandably, we are hearing much about health concerns in our present moment. We are hearing about health concerns largely due to the ongoing pandemic and new variants that seem to be arising by the day. Spiritual health is a term that we don't hear all that much in our culture. We hear, understandably, about mental health, sometimes emotional health, and definitely physical health. Spiritual health is a bit more slippery of a term and is open to a number of definitions. I define spiritual health as our ability to be at home with ourselves and our ability to be at home in our circumstances, whatever those circumstances happen to be. It's completely related to physical health, mental health, and emotional health. But I think spiritual health is both very simple and beyond anything we can adequately name. In the simplest sense, spiritual health is our ability to appreciate our life, even and maybe especially when circumstances are scary or not to our liking and not to our preference. Spiritual health is our ability to appreciate our life through various changes of circumstances. I think many of us have the assumption that the answer to the problems we face is to alter the circumstances of our life. I think that is true. I do think that is part of the answer. But I think that is only part of the truth. We are committed as a church to doing what we can with passion and energy to shift circumstances for the benefit of all of us. And yet, to base our entire sense of well-being on the success or failure of that project, I think is a mistake. There is another side to it, and it has to do with our ability to appreciate our life with the circumstances that prevail in the moment, knowing that those circumstances will change, usually by the help of us. There is something to be said about learning to be at home in ourselves, to take refuge in our life, to take refuge in this community when the storms hit. And we know by now the storms will hit. That is a guarantee. We can't control that, not completely. So when the storms come, we can definitely curse the sky for raining. We can curse the wind for blowing the trees and causing chaos and destruction. But we can also find a home that is not a concrete destination with walls and a roof, but a companion on the journey to being at home with ourselves, able to appreciate our life and life itself, come what may, even the storm. I know in many ways I'm naive. I do think you have to be a kind of childlike to concern yourself as much as I do with spiritual health. I think only a child can see that there is always possibility, where adults and many of us are comfortable with cynicism and resignation. Only a child can remind us often what it means to come home to ourselves and take refuge there. It's playful and dynamic and impromptu and exploratory. Spiritual health has little to do with fixed truth. It has little to do with fixed ideas. It has little to do with fixed assumptions about what our life is and where our life is headed. Spiritual health has very little, if nothing, to do with certainty. And it certainly is the antidote to resignation, which is rooted in our narrow belief that we can adequately predict the future when none of us can. I am starting to see that tending to spiritual health or becoming more curious about how we can sustain our spirits when circumstances don't go our way is no longer the purview of the traditionally religious person. I think everyone, at least everyone I know, even those who have no faith tradition, are wondering how they might sustain their spirits during this time. How can we live in such a way that we can appreciate our life moment by moment, even when those moments are not what we prefer or like, and even when those moments are difficult? I think that's a great question. And I don't think there is one definite answer, but I can share with you what has been critical to me in beginning to answer that question. Having a community like this, like all of you, is paramount. A community like this, whose mission is to dedicate ourselves to living into that question. How do we live that we might appreciate our life moment by moment, through good moments and bad moments? How do we live fully on this day, being a blessing for ourselves and for each other? How can we remind ourselves and each other that there is more at the heart of life than pain and fear? How do we embody hope for ourselves? How do we do that for our children? How do we do that for our community? The wonderful thing about this particular church community is we don't answer those questions too definitively. We invite each of you to live into them for yourself with the help of our covenant, which we read each and every single Sunday as our guide for how we're going to journey together. I love being a minister of this church because I'm not required to have too many answers. I'm only responsible for living into these questions with as much integrity and passion as I can muster, and encourage you all in your own unique way to do the same. In that journey, I have found fulfillment. It is wonderful to meet all of these fellow home leavers. Even if you grew up in this faith tradition, this faith tradition is continually evolving and changing to meet this present moment and help us live with more integrity in this time and place. We are a community in motion, never satisfied with pat answers, never satisfied with platitudes. Our greatest trait, I think, is a commitment to openness. We don't always live up to that commitment, but we still have the commitment to remain open, not to make too many assumptions about ourselves, not to make too many assumptions about each other, not to make too many assumptions about the mystery of life. A commitment to remain open, curious, a commitment to opening our hands so that they might be of use rather than clenched in anger and resignation. I think the heart of any spiritual journey is our attempt to find love. We want to feel that we are loved, not for who we project ourselves to be, but for who we actually are. In time, I think we discover that finding avenues to love is part of the key to that search. Awakening to health is awakening to the multiplicities of health, including spiritual health. Now, I don't encourage you to make a list of the various healths and check them off like you're making a grocery list. Please don't do that. But I do encourage you to ask the question from time to time: can I appreciate my life in this moment? Can I appreciate someone else in this moment? These are really not two separate questions, by the way. They're actually the same question. The more we appreciate others, including all of you out there, the more we appreciate ourselves, and vice versa. I guarantee that if you have lived the life of the prodigal, you will find other prodigals here. If, like me, you know what it's like to venture out and leave home, you know what it's like to squander your time, you know what it's like to be foolish. And some of you might also know what it's like to wake up. I invite you to join us. I'm sure each and every single one of you have a perspective that is unique and extraordinary. Prodigious, in fact. I remain committed to appreciating my life with all of you. I know there are times, like you perhaps, that I'll be discouraged and get into a stupor and even feel resignation. But I'm committed, thanks to all of you, to beginning again, to give myself the chance every single day to wake up, not just to what I am afraid of, but to what is possible. Awakening to health is to appreciate the health we have, not just what we've lost. Awakening to health is to see what is alive in this moment. You and me, animals, plants, aspirations, and dreams. All of these are alive, and they are actually here in this moment. And we get to appreciate them. I appreciate all of you very much. I have definitely felt your love and support through these years. You have helped me to see the dignity and beauty of being a prodigal, of being a prodigal child. You have shown me that there is always more love out there, and that it always exists in the present moment if we're willing to be patient, open, and curious. You have demonstrated through your actions a commitment to fully live with purpose for the benefit of all of us, come what may. When the storm hits, when disaster strikes, you all as a community continually and faithfully ask the question, what can I do? What can I do to relieve pain and suffering? What can I do to comfort the wounded? What can I do to challenge the complacent and the callous? Through you, all of you, I get a glimpse of what might be possible in this present moment and forever. Please pray with me. Spirit of love, we are grateful to be alive on this day. Grateful for all the people who are tuning in and joining us as a community. All of those who are joining us later, at a later time. We pray that all who are on this feed, part of this community, may feel nourished on this day by some morsel of hope and goodness. We pray that each and every single person may find one small thing or one prodigious thing to be grateful for on this day. All this we pray. Amen.
When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When evening shadows and the stars appear, and there's no one there to dry your tears, I could hold you for a million years to make you feel my love. I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I would never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met. There ain't no doubt in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue, I'd go crawling down the avenue. Oh, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. The storms are raging on the rolling sea and on the highway of regret. The winds of change are blowing wild and free, but you ain't seen nothing like me yet. I could make you happy, make your dreams come true. There ain't nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the ends of the earth for you to make you feel my love, to make you feel my love.
We extinguish this flame but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts until we meet again.
As you depart, please remember the one great fact: you are loved and never truly alone.
God be with you till we meet again. By God's counsel's guide uphold you, and with the sheep securely fold you. God be with you till we meet again. Till we meet, till we meet, till we meet on heaven.